It's right up my street, it's my boulevard. It's right up my Strasser, oh my God. It's garden right up there, ah, it's right up my podcast. Ooh.
Welcome to Ep.5 of Right Up My Podcast. My name's Kate White.
And my name's Gwen Watson. And this is the podcast in which we talk to people about what makes them feel good.
So Gwen, what have you been doing to make yourself feel good since the last episode?
What I've been doing is actually potentially not quite legal in this country.
Elaborate. Naughty girl.
I know. Well, as in the interests of research for Right Up My Podcast, I have been experimenting in microdosing.
Interesting.
Yeah, and this was after reading an article about it in The Guardian sometime last year about these professional busy women who were all like, suddenly I've got my chutzpah back. I feel more myself than I have done in the last 5 years. And they were all trying like microdosing. It's basically microdosing psychedelics. So either a tiny bit of LSD or a tiny bit of magic mushroom. So anyway, seeing quite by accident, I find myself in West Wales. I've never picked a magic mushroom in my entire life. And I was out with a friend and we looked down and there was some growing at our feet. She said, oh, look, there's magic mushrooms. And I was like, oh. So let me just say, yeah, in the interests of research, and because we are going to do this hopefully for a future episode, I have been, on my Sundays, I've been trying a little bit of microdosing with magic mushrooms from my back garden. And let me tell you, it has been brilliant.
Wow.
And has definitely made me feel good. It's made me feel more productive than I have done for years. And I've also experimented with doing slightly too much. So anyway, I feel like we should probably consult our lawyers before I embark on talking about something that's against the law in many countries around the world. But yes, we'll save that one for a future episode.
I am intrigued. Indeed, we shall. And can I just applaud you as well for your brilliant use of the word chutzpah in that explanation? That brought me a lot of joy.
So, and how about you? How are you doing?
Well, I'm feeling slightly overwhelmed by all the things that I need to do in my life. My to-do list only gets longer. It never gets shorter. I never seem to be able to cross anything off the top of it. But one thing that I have been really trying to do, and this is based on an idea that you had for a future episode for Right Up My Podcast,
yes,
is to try and stop multitasking. We've got this idea, haven't we, that multitasking is this great skill to have, but it's not. It just kills productivity. So I've been trying to just focus on one thing and actually complete it.
That is really good. It's not the way to work, is it, at all?
No, not at all. You just get to the end of the day and you're like, well, I appear to have started 25 different things and I haven't completed a single one of them, including brushing my teeth. This is not a good way to live.
Oh my God, I haven't even brushed my teeth today.
This is why it's good that we're having to record remotely, Gwen. We're not sharing a booth.
I know. This is the thing about lockdown, isn't it? I often get... it started in lockdown and it's just continued because I've continued to be just working from home and barely seeing anyone. And I'll get to the afternoon. I'm like, have I brushed my teeth today? I don't know.
Doesn't matter. Who cares?
Yeah, who cares? As long as I do it at least once, right? Is that okay? So how's it been going so far? Your exercise into doing one thing at a time?
Quite difficult, actually, because my brain, as soon as something pings into my brain, seemingly randomly, I want to immediately go and do it or to kind of swing off to that other task. So it's not coming naturally to me. I'm having to be quite strict. But I've been using the Pomodoro tomato technique.
Hey, Pomodoro!
Hey, you like a tomato? You're going to like this technique.
You like a tomato?
You like a tomato?
No, I know about this. I've tried this before. Tell me and the listener all about it.
Okay, so this technique is based on having 25 minutes, a timer set for 25 minutes. And in that 25 minutes, you've got to focus on just that one task or just working in general. And then you have a 5-minute period of being able to get up, walk around, stretch, or, book your haircut, book your dentist appointment, whatever it is that has been distracting you. And then you set another 25 minutes. There are a million apps out there. I've downloaded one that just goes on my laptop and it just beeps at me every 25 minutes and just keeps me on track. And the idea is that 25 minutes is a short enough period that fully grown adults, we should be able to concentrate for 25 minutes. And if we can't, then we're beyond help.
Well, do you know, it's all about retraining your brain, isn't it? It's all about creating habits. And so you just have to keep doing it. And it will become a habit that you can do.
This is what I'm hoping.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's not a habit that I've ever managed to cultivate. But because I am distracted by my phone and, you know, for WhatsApp pings in. Oh, WhatsApp is the worst for distracting my brain.
Yeah.
But they say that if you are distracted, it takes something like an hour to really get back to the level of focus in that task.
God, that's crazy.
Where you were at. And so a task, I always find this, that a task that I'm working on that should really take half an hour ends up taking 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it's just because I'm doing all this other stuff.
It's just totally unproductive, isn't it? I have a confession to make, though. I did spend the first 25 minutes of this productivity session Googling tomato-shaped timers that I could use. So I think I might have not started off on the right foot.
It's important to have the right accessories, Kate. That is so good. Hey, have you been doing any more? I have to say, last episode, the cold water swimming episode, has really... It's been by far our most popular episode so far. It's been so wonderful and people have really responded well to it, haven't they?
Oh my God, yeah, we've had some amazing messages. Loads of people messaged us saying, I'm going to go cold water swimming for the first time. Brilliant pictures of people just freezing their asses off next to cold stretches of water. It's been so good.
I love it.
Keep telling us if you keep on going as the water gets cold. We want to know if you stick at it.
Yeah. Because I have to admit, I did sound a little bit smug in the episode. I was a bit like, yeah, I'm really acclimatised, so yeah, I barely feel pain anymore. And I have to say, yesterday I went for my first November swim and I was stood there in a perfectly warm coat and warm clothes, standing on a windy beach going, why am I going to take my warm clothes off? Why am I doing this? So yeah, already it is getting a bit harder. But, you know, you've just got to do it. It's wonderful. Being in the water is wonderful. And afterwards, that feeling of self-satisfaction is so bloody good.
It's so good, isn't it? I went for a swim yesterday as well. And I managed to get in the water without making quite the god-awful racket that I made last time.
So has it got easier since you did? Because you've been a few times now since you first went into Clevedon. Has it got easier?
Well, I would say it's not quite got easier yet. I'm still waiting for that. It getting easier moment. Yeah. I did wear a woolly hat yesterday when I went in the water. That really helped.
Yeah.
But I think I've not been going quite regularly enough. I've been going once a week. I'm going to try and ramp it up to twice a week, see if it gets easier then.
Yeah. Well, that's what they say, isn't it? Once, twice a week to make sure that you acclimatise. But thank you, everybody, for listening. Oh, by the way, talking of the last episode, I done a boo-boo. And actually, I asked Andy G, our music meister, to do a little jingle for this. So here it is.
Oops, there's been a boo-boo, a little mistake, a tiny snafu. What they meant to say came out the wrong way. Allow me to explain. What a boo-boo, what a boo-boo.
So I talked about Wim Hof, the Scandi. Turns out Wim Hof is Dutch and his name is pronounced Wim.
You're so well prepared.
It's all about doing your research, isn't it? Sorry, Wim.
Now back to the podcast.
All right. So, how are we going to feel good this episode, Kate?
So this episode, we are exploring something that I genuinely knew nothing about until we started looking into this. It's called emotional freedom technique and is sometimes referred to as tapping. In a slight break from the norm, we spoke to more than one person for our gathering of information about tapping. The first person we spoke to was a hugely knowledgeable and fascinating woman called Tamara Don, who is an EFT international master trainer and practitioner. She's the author of upcoming book Frazzled to Fabulous in 5 minutes a day, and she delivers training, workshops and courses in tapping.
We also spoke to somebody else. Now, I discovered tapping through my friend Erica probably about 6 or 7 years ago. I think she was helping me with a breakup, and it was so effective in immediately calming me that I just fell in love with it. I honestly did not understand it at all when I was doing it. I've learned much more whilst doing this podcast than I did at the time. But I was introduced to this guy called Brad Yates and his YouTube channel, and I spent many an hour tapping along with Brad Yates, doing all his videos. And I was so moved by him, I sent him a card at one point out to his home in Sacramento to thank him. And anyway, I just thought I would get in touch with Brad and say, Brad, you're so brilliant. I sent you a card once. Can you come on our podcast? And lo and behold, utterly blown off my chair when he said yes. So Brad Yates is known internationally. He's the author of best-selling children's books. He's done teleseminars with the people from The Secret, Bob Doyle and Dr. Joe Vitale. He was a featured expert in the film The Tapping Solution. Jack Canfield, co-author of Chicken Soup for the Soul, said, Brad Yates is a master teacher. He is a warm, loving, powerful, effective, transformative force for good. I totally endorse his work. And he has hundreds and hundreds of videos on YouTube. We are so grateful to have him on our podcast.
So yeah, we feel incredibly lucky to be able to bring you both these two incredibly knowledgeable people. And we started off our interview with Tamara, asking her to explain to us, what is tapping?
EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques. It's also known as tapping. And it involves tapping on various points on your body, which are actually the end points of meridian lines. So if you don't know what meridian lines are, these are the energy lines where acupuncturists will stick their needles. Right. And there's no needles involved in tapping, you'll be pleased to know. So we just tap on those points on the body and we say various words. And the effect that it has is to have a very calming effect on the body. And there's been loads of studies that have been done to show how it reduces adrenaline and it has a calming effect on the amygdala in the brain, which is responsible for the release of adrenaline and cortisol. From a Chinese medicine point of view, the way I like to explain it is that these meridians, which are energy lines, and so if you imagine them being like water hose pipes, and instead of water flowing through, you have energy flowing through. Now, if you have a kink, like a twist in a hose pipe, it means that the water can't flow through. If you have a kink in your energy lines, the energy can't flow through. And these kinks in the energy lines are the negative emotions. So we're talking about stress, anxiety, anger, sadness, fear, worry. And when we tap on these points on the body, it has an effect of straightening out these hose pipes, these meridians, and all of a sudden you're just not feeling that negative emotion. And as a practitioner, the way that I like to describe it is that I'm tapping with someone and then I'll say, so on a scale from 0 to 10, how intense is that emotion? And they their eyes dart around like they're looking for that emotion and they literally can't find it anymore. And it's almost like that the brain is rewiring. So when they're thinking about that sad event that happened, instead of feeling sadness, they're just feeling neutral. So it's like instead of memory A corresponding to emotion B, now memory A corresponds with emotion C, and it just changes. And so that's how it feels like as an onlooker working with a client.
How interesting.
Do you know what? I've done EFT quite a few times. A friend of mine, actually, she was an EFT practitioner, and she would sit me down and we'd go through the tapping points, and I never understood what we were doing or why we were doing it. You have explained it more in the last few minutes than I ever understood it. It used to work. It always worked. And she used to do exactly that. She would ask me at the beginning to locate, or, where is the anxiety? And on the scale of 1 to 10, how anxious do I feel? And I'd be like, a 7. Or whatever, and then at the end she'd be like, now how do you feel? I'd be like, oh, a 2 or a 3, and it's always about checking back in and checking how different your body feels. But I never understood why. I never understood what on earth we were doing.
What I love about EFT is that you don't have to go and have it done to you. Although the benefit of doing it with a practitioner is that you can work very deeply and therapeutically. But there is so much that you can do yourself, on yourself, for free.
Yeah.
And it's an empowering technique, which is literally at your fingertips. And you can use it whenever you need to. And that's what I love about it. So you're empowering your clients to take this and run with it. And it works from little children to any age whatsoever.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So do different tapping points around the body correspond with different types of emotional problems? Or, do you tap, for example, somewhere on your head for one issue that you're trying to work with and another part of your body for a different issue? Or is it one tapping routine fits all?
That's a really good question.
That is a really good question, Kate.
Guys.
Good for you.
So it's really interesting because the person who first discovered this correlation between emotions and tapping on points, his name was Dr. Roger Callahan. And what he found was that different sequence of points corresponded to different emotions. So he built up a repertoire that if you feel sadness, you tap on these points, and if you feel anger, you tap on these points. And he created a system called TFT, or thought field therapy. Now, one of his students was Gary Craig, who ended up being the founder of EFT. And he said, given that there's a finite number of points, why don't we tap on all the points every time and not have to memorize all these different sequences? So he did that, and it took like maybe a minute longer, but the results were just as good. So the answer to your question is no, you just have to remember the sequence of points, which is just a few, and you tap on them, all the points, every time. So, yeah.
And it's literally from memory, because I haven't done it for ages, actually. And it's when you're reminded of these things, you're like, oh, this used to make me feel really good.
Yeah.
Why don't I do this all the time?
Yeah.
So I'm really glad that we're revisiting this, or that I'm revisiting this. And it's on your head and your forehead and your top lip and your cheek and your collarbone. So there is like the same routine that you do every single time, isn't there? No matter what issue you're talking about.
Exactly. And you've got a very good memory, full marks there.
Oh, yay. Thank you.
My big passion is empowering people to do it themselves. And I would say that everyone has 1,440 minutes per day. If you spent just 5 minutes tapping a day, every day, it is literally life-changing. Wow. And I can say that from experience, because a few years ago, I took a few hundred mums and I said to them, if you tap for 5 minutes every day for 30 days, it was mums, but it could be anyone. But I said to them, you'll regain your calm, enjoy your kids and get more done. Now, what I wasn't expecting, despite the fact that I've had loads of experience working with loads of people, was just for them tapping on their own every day for 5 minutes. Not only did they say what I said it would do, but they also stopped needing that glass of wine or that bar of chocolate at the end of the day. They stopped spending money on themselves to help them feel better because they felt so good about themselves, and their partners were saying, what have you done? Because you seem so happy. And aches and pains disappeared. So we're talking on all aspects of life. They noticed improvement.
So that regularity, building that up into your daily routine. Is there an optimum time of day to do the tapping?
Another great question. So I say that the best time to do it is first thing in the morning. And I know that's really difficult for some people, because some people, you've had like a bad night's sleep, the alarm's gone off, you're feeling grumpy, you're running late, you've got to get to work. Well, nowadays in lockdown, maybe not going to work. But you start off maybe at not a great level of vitality and joy.
Who is it that wrote the Miracle Hour or the Miracle Morning? And it's just about getting up. It's about getting up a bit earlier. And because we're learning about all these great things that really a lot of them should be incorporated on a daily basis. And this could be incorporated in, because, if you're doing your journaling and your gratitudes and meditation, this perfectly fits in with that, doesn't it? As just a routine that you throw in your everyday. But also it's good to use in situations of anxiety, isn't it? If you're just trying to calm yourself down. Like,
Exactly.
if you're about to do something stressful, like go into an interview, or you can use it in situations of emergency as well, can't you?
Oh, so true. But you're never going to do that unless you've embedded EFT to be your habit. And that's the whole point. So we're creating a habit here. But if you have a stressful situation, the last thing you're going to think about, oh, let's try something new and untried and tested that I don't know very well. You're just going to default to your knee-jerk reaction. Now, if EFT is your knee-jerk reaction, then you're going to revert to that.
I read an article recently about an NHS doctor who used tapping to help them cope with the stresses of their job during lockdown and during the kind of the real acute COVID months when they were in a very stressful environment working in a hospital and a COVID ward, and how the tapping really, really helped them with that stress, that anxiety and all the other emotions that were going with it.
So what I did, because I made like a video every day during lockdown, I made a video to support people, and I've had so many positive feedbacks of people who've had COVID, and it's just supported them and it's calmed them down and it's helped their breathing. So it's incredible.
How fascinating. What sort of type of people would really benefit from introducing tapping into their everyday life?
Everyone.
Everyone, okay.
Like, I mean, we've trained police, they're using it for PTSD in the police.
Sure.
We've trained an anaesthetist who uses it on his needle phobic patients. You can use it for stage fright, public speaking. Yeah. You can use it for exam stress for students. I've trained a school counsellor. She stands outside the exam room tapping with the kids before they go in.
If you're doing tapping at home, is there a kind of ideal setting you should put yourself in? Should you have your eyes closed? Should you have the lights off, the curtains shut? You know, is there a kind of, you know, if our listener is wanting to recreate this at home?
You can do it anywhere, anytime. You can do it as you're walking along. You can. I mean, at the beginning, you can watch videos, and actually, I've put together for your listeners. I've put together some videos that they can watch. So I've put together some instruction videos.
Oh, fantastic!
That will tell you how to do it, and I've also put together 3 kind of positive ones. So one on joy, one on peace, and one on freedom. And I've like put them on so if people want to. Watch that, so that's available to your listeners.
Oh,
that's wonderful.
Brilliant. We'll put that in the show notes. I tell you, one of my favourite tapping practitioners is Brad Yates. I don't know if you... Oh, my God, I love him so much. I love him. And you can literally, like you were saying, you can do it for anything. So he does it for... My absolute favourite of his is, you are a love magnet. It's brilliant. And so he does it for bringing relationships in, for bringing money in, for... a lot around confidence and just feeling better self-esteem and self-love. And I always feel utterly transformed after doing a tapping session with him.
Yes.
I come out of it. I've always got a massive smile on my face and a big glow in my heart. And I would often finish a tapping session by going, I love you, Brad, after it.
I am a love magnet.
Oh, I've such a lovely bicycle, see such a lovely wheels, my open coat flaps in the wind, my hair is swept behind, my ears downhill around the bend, whooshing along, is there anything better than this? No.
And now, as if by magic, we go over to the actual real-life Brad Yates. We start our conversation by chatting about the physical and mental benefits of tapping and how he uses EFT to help people overcome self-sabotage.
With physical ailments, a huge part of that is stuff that's going on in the mind, and most, if not all, of the issues that we struggle with are either caused by or worsened by stress. So if you thought of EFT as nothing more than a stress relief technique, that would explain why it is so beneficial in so many different areas. There are, money blocks, career and success issues, because when we want to make a change in our lives, we have a stress response. There is a part of us that doesn't want change. Even if our lives are crap, part of us says, yeah, but it's my crap. I know where it goes. I handled it yesterday, so I know I can handle it today. If I make changes in my life, that's the unknown. I don't know if I can handle that. So when I may have an opportunity to talk to somebody who could really help my career, and I just somehow forget to make that phone call.
Yeah.
And there are all these brilliant ways that we sabotage ourselves because our mind has this very subtle stress response saying, don't do that. Don't do that. Oh, I want to get in better shape. Don't do that. Oh, look, there's some candy. Go have some candy. I'm going to exercise. Oh, I forgot to set my alarm clock. Now I don't have time to exercise this morning. We have all these ways of stopping ourselves because of we're trying to protect ourselves from this physical discomfort that comes up. And it may be very subtle, but it guides our actions. So we don't take those actions that could change our lives. So the tapping, if again, thought of it as nothing more than stress relief, breaks down that response. So when we look at having more money or being healthier or being in a relationship, all of the different stress responses that can come up around that based on our old programming, based on our beliefs, based on our experiences, we're able to then mitigate that stress response so that we can then look at it and go, oh, you know what, I actually could handle that. It actually would be safe for me to be able to do this.
So from watching some of the videos that you've done, it seems that the tapping is always accompanied by a mantra.
Right. So the tapping itself is beneficial for lowering stress. And we have all kinds of research studies showing that we're lowering stress. We have fMRI studies showing brain activity calming down with the tapping. We have cortisol studies showing that cortisol, which is one of the stress hormones, that gets pumping through the body when we go into fight or flight, dramatically lower. So just the tapping without saying anything will benefit us. Now, in the process of using the tapping, like in my videos, we are talking about whatever is bothering us so that we are focused on what it is as opposed to just getting distracted.
Out of all the mantras, the one that always resonates with me the most is the phrase that people repeat in every single sequence, which is, I totally love and accept myself. And you begin every sequence with that phrase, don't you? How important is that phrase?
Right. So the setup phrase, which says, even though I'm, say, angry at Bob, I choose to love and accept myself. The original phrase that I learned was deeply and completely love and accept myself, but I found a lot of people had a hard time saying, I love myself. So by just putting the words, I choose to love myself, sort of created a buffer. It's like, okay, it's not saying that I don't love myself, but it's not insisting that I do in a way that feels uncomfortable. So that's just how I like to do it. It's just stating a level of acceptance of what the issue is so that we can then work on it, as opposed to, I don't have this, or I refuse to talk about this, or I'm upset that I have it. It's like, okay. And I always say that self-sabotage is simply misguided self-love. So whatever issue we have that's bothering us, it's there because part of us believes it's protecting us.
And also, it's our self-limiting beliefs, isn't it? And so, like you were saying, we know we've got this aspirational life. We know exactly what we should be doing to make ourselves feel better, or exactly the steps we should be taking to achieve our goals. And yet we're stopping ourselves because we're somewhere inside us we're telling ourselves that we can't do it, or that we're not good enough, or we don't deserve it, or we're not worthy. So what I really feel from your videos is you're helping people to eradicate those negative core beliefs.
Yeah, I like to call it reconsideration.
Uh-huh.
It's the process of reconsidering your beliefs. And you mentioned one of the biggest ones, the idea that I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. And so if I believe that I'm not worthy of financial success, then I have a belief that it's wrong, and therefore at some level, I'm going to protect myself from having that financial success that would be wrong. Because I'm a good person. I don't want to create, I don't want to do wrong things. And so, if we have the belief that money is the root of all evil, I don't want to be evil, so I'm going to brilliantly lower the amount of money that I have. And this is true of everything. In relationships, if I believe that relationships are going to be harmful, or if I'm bad in relationships, or relationships are going to hurt me, and it happens at such an unconscious level. So if you could imagine if you're consciously saying that you want these things. So consciously, I might be saying, "Oh, I'd love to be in a relationship. I'm lonely. I want to be dating." So we're in the grocery store and we see this attractive stranger over there, and in a split second, our mind, it's like a chess grandmaster who's thinking 50 moves ahead. And part of this is like, oh, look at that person. I can go over and I could say hi. And, they might say hi back, and we could start up a conversation. We might find that we actually have some things in common. We might go out on a date, and that date could lead to another date. And the next thing you know, we're married, and then that person leaves me and breaks my heart just like the last person. Oh, look, there's a sale on aisle 2. And we're off down aisle 2 before we're even consciously aware that any of this has happened. And we're down in aisle 2, and we're just thinking, gosh, I just never meet anybody. And so,
Brad.
and it's because we have all of this belief of every time I'm in a relationship, I get hurt, and that's always been that way. And everyone I know, my parents were divorced or whatever it was, and so we have this idea that relationships are dangerous. Well, then we start tapping, even though relationships are dangerous, and we can tap through that, and we can reconsider that belief and go, no, the past relationships I've been in were bad because they weren't the ones I was supposed to be in. And, if I hadn't, and maybe that person that I just saw in the grocery store was the right person for me, and thank goodness, if they are, thank goodness the last person broke my heart, because otherwise I wouldn't be available to meet this person.
So you can gradually change the way your mind automatically acts on a subconscious level.
Yeah. To me, love is the core of who we are, and everything else is just piled on top. So I often talk about what I call the Michelangelo principle. So Michelangelo said his statues were already there inside the marble, perfect. And he just had to chip away what didn't belong to reveal the masterpiece that was already inside. And that to me is a perfect metaphor for what we're doing with this. So, like, I have a video called Clearing What Isn't Love. But to me, that's what virtually every one of the 900 plus videos is just clearing what isn't love. And it's just a matter of what we're calling it at that time: guilt, shame, pain, loss, fear, anxiety. And as we tap, we just reveal that natural part of us. And it's what you were talking about how you feel in your body. Feelings are called feelings because we actually feel them. It's not like our body is completely relaxed, like, oh, I'm really, really angry right now. It's like, no, we feel it in our body. And that's why doing this work with the tapping is so beneficial, because rather than just talking about issues, which can be helpful, but to add in this physical tool to deal with what's going on inside the body. So when we're tapping, we can be tapping on the stuff that's going on right now. So, for instance, the anger at Bob, I can clear that anger that I'm feeling right now, but there might be, if I haven't addressed the stuff that's been there for decades about Sally, then I might feel the same kind of anger come up about something else because I haven't addressed what's going on underneath that. Now, if I can take that opportunity in the tapping to clear out the anger at Sally as well and go back and clear some stuff that happened early in my life, I may go forth from this moment and things won't piss me off the same way. It's like people will do things like, hey, what you're doing is annoying, I'm still going to feel, a certain level of peace. And feeling that peace doesn't mean that we then say, oh, okay, it's okay if people are jerks to me. It's not a matter of clearing an uncomfortable feeling such that we just allow things to just happen. And that's one of the reasons we often hold on to our uncomfortable feelings. Anger and fear, these aren't negative emotions. They are uncomfortable emotions, but they have a purpose. They're not bad. They're there. It's like a smoke detector. It lets you know that there's a problem to be dealt with. But then we go deal with the problem, and we can turn off the smoke detector. We don't just need it to be going off and having that alarm going off constantly. Same with anger and fear. It's like, okay, I can address what's going on and then do something about it. And we're afraid that if I'm not feeling that upset, then I won't do anything. Oh, hey, if I tap and I clear out and I'm totally at peace, I won't even bother to go vote, because who cares? I can just tap and it doesn't matter who's in charge of the government. No, not at all, because when we get to that place of peace, we want to make the world as good as it can be. And actually, by tapping away the discomfort, we can think more clearly, we can make better choices, and we can be much more effective. And we can look at, what do I really want, and how do I create it? And we have more freedom to create the life that we want.
So what you're saying is that by doing EFT, we can retrain and, what did you say? Reconsidering our limiting self-beliefs.
Yeah. And and again, it goes back to the reason we don't do this is because part of us resists change. And so even though we might say at a conscious level and a logical level, having more money, being healthier, being in a loving relationship, they all sound great. But part of this goes, but it's unfamiliar. And I don't like unfamiliar. I want the same crap that I had yesterday, because as uncomfortable as it is, it's familiar. I know that I can handle it. And so as my discomfort zone. So we tap and clear that stress, so we can go, I can have more faith in myself. I can see that I can handle this.
Because I guess it's easier for the brain to resort to those same old responses than it is to forge a new one.
We get into a rut.
Yeah.
We get into a rut, and it's this, this pathway that's got these walls on either side. It's like I can't see anything else. And it's just easier to go down that without thinking, because most of the choices we make, at least 80 to 90% of the choices we make are unconscious. We sit there and we're doing something, and we find ourselves eating a bag of crisps, I believe you call them there. And it's like, where did this come from? I wasn't going to eat these this week.
Happens so often.
Brad, I think that you're in my brain.
It comes so much easier to look after our physical health than our mental health, doesn't it? I guess it's we can see if we've got a swollen knee and we know to rest it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's more obvious, and we're so familiarized with stress that we just sort of say, I'm feeling upset, and I'm getting pissed off about things and this and that. But that's just normal. That's just being human. We don't ever say, my ankle's really hurt and it's hard to walk. That's just part of being human. That's sometimes you limp. We acknowledge, there's a problem here.
Because actually then it paralyzes you, doesn't it? It stops you being able to then be effective and make a change that might be required. Yeah.
You have lots of people sitting at home yelling at the TV or writing nasty things on the internet and not doing a thing to change the world and make it better.
Because I think that's one of your messages that you always say, that in addition to helping yourself in that moment, you are helping the people around you. And so we have almost a responsibility to calm ourselves down, to increase our own sense of self-love and self-worth, because then that's going to affect all the people we come into contact with, right?
That's why I do the videos. It's not like, hey, I'm just giving free service just so you can feel better. That's part of it. But the main thing is, it's so that people will share their gifts and talents more.
Ooh, that's nice. That's very nice. Oh, it's nice. Oh, it's nice. It's a bit nice. Oh, that's not nice.
Brad kindly agreed to do a live tapping session with us, focusing on not holding ourselves back from fulfilling our full potential. Now, he did this exclusively for Write Up My Podcast listeners, which is amazing. So it took us about 10 minutes to do this, so we've only included a clip of it here. But we've put the full session on our Patreon page for free. And we really urge you to head over there and do the tapping session with Brad, as we both found it such an incredible experience. So if you do want to tap along with Brad, head to patreon.com/Write Up My Podcast. And that's spelled Patreon. Now, I should also mention that although Gwen and I both joined in with Brad on this tapping session, you'll only hear Gwen's voice here, because together we kind of sounded a bit like those terrifying twins from the film The Shining.
So, real quick, for anyone who's not familiar and doesn't have immediate access to a video where you can see where I'm tapping, the points we're going to tap, we're going to tap with the index and middle finger of our dominant hand. You can tap with both hands on both sides of the body, but for the sake of demonstration, you'll take the index and middle finger of your dominant hand, and you'll start by tapping on the edge of your opposite hand. So we sometimes call that the karate chop point. If you were going to break boards with a karate chop, you'd use that edge of your hand. And just gently tap in there, and we say, even though I had this issue, I choose to love and accept myself. We will repeat that 3 times, and then we go to the eyebrow point. So just at the beginning of your eyebrow, just above your nose, and we tap, like 5 to 10 times on each of these points, and we'll say whatever the phrase is. And then in the tapping round we're going to do, I'll be saying different things. So sometimes the phrase might be longer, so it might be more than 10 times. It's not an exact science of, it has to be 5 to 10 times, otherwise it doesn't work. Mm. So the eyebrow point, then we follow the eyebrow out to the side of the eye, right, the corner of the eye socket there, and repeat the phrase. Right under the middle of your eye, and you just gently tap there. Then just below your nose, just above your upper lip, gently tap in there. Then just below your lower lip, just above your chin, gently tap in there. The next point is the collarbone point. If you feel your collarbones just about come together, there's a little bit of a U shape at the base of your throat. And you can use all of your fingertips, or even you can make a fist and tap where the collarbones come together. Then the next point is just about 4 inches below the armpit. It's right about bra strap level, and I'm sure any guys listening can figure out where that is. Gently tap in there, and then finally the top of the head. So using all of your fingertips and tap it around the crown of your head. So those are the points that we'll be tapping, and as we go through this, I'll tell you what point to tap, and then I'll say a phrase, and you'll repeat the phrase back. So what I'd like you to do first is close your eyes, take a deep breath. And with your eyes closed, just following your breath through your body, just checking with how you're feeling right now. And I want you to think about what your gifts and talents might be. What is the positive difference that you make in the world? Or what is the positive difference that you would like to be making in the world that you may not feel you're doing yet? Or maybe you're not doing it to the extent that you'd like to. And just follow your breath through your body and notice where you might be feeling some resistance. What stops you from sharing your gifts in a more profound way? And you may just be aware of physical reactions. It's like, I'm not sure what it is, but I get this tightness in my shoulder or this knot in my stomach or whatever it is. So go ahead and rate that resistance on a scale of 0 to 10. Take a deep breath, open your eyes. And as I always say in my videos, taking full responsibility for your own well-being, because when we're tapping, we're dealing with emotions. So if you have a lot of emotional stuff coming up right now, you may want to wait until you've got someone there for emotional support before you do the tapping. But otherwise, so tapping on the side of your hand. Even though I might have some resistance.
Even though I might have some resistance.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
I choose to love and accept myself anyway.
And part of me really wants to do that.
And part of me really wants to do that.
But if I'm not doing it to the extent that's possible...
But if I'm not doing it to the extent that it's possible...
It's not because I'm bad or stupid.
It's not because I'm bad or stupid.
Under the eye. I like the idea of being of service.
I like the idea of being a service.
Honest, but I don't like the idea of being criticized.
But I don't like the idea of being criticized.
Sadia, am I really afraid of people judging me?
Am I really afraid of people judging me?
Yeah, because if that's what I'm worried about...
Because if that's what I'm worried about...
Honest, I might as well let that one go.
I might as well let that one go.
Out of the mouth. Because people judge people.
Because people judge people.
Collarbone. And even if I'm hiding out in my home.
And even if I'm hiding out in my home.
Under the arm. There's probably people out there who are judging me.
There's probably people out there who are judging me.
When I'm walking down the street.
When I'm walking down the street.
Eyebrow point. People are judging me.
People are judging me.
Side eye. And the way that I know this.
And the way that I know this.
Side eye. Is because I probably judge other people walking down the street.
It's because I probably judge other people walking down the street.
Top of the head. So I can remember what I've always known.
So I can remember what I've always known.
Eyebrow point. That I am pretty freaking awesome.
I'm pretty freaking awesome.
Side eye. And if I didn't already know that.
And if I didn't already know that.
Out of the eye. I wouldn't be sitting here tapping on my face right now.
I wouldn't be sat here tapping on my face right now.
Look around. We could really use those gifts and talents.
Yes. Thank you,
Oh,
Brad.
You don't get to sit this one out.
Kate, how do
That
you
was
feel after
amazing.
that?
So beforehand, I could feel I had a little sort of knot in my solar plexus. I think it was just sort of, that sort of slight tight nervous energy. And I feel like that's completely gone.
Awesome.
And actually the words as well really resonated with me throughout my kind of adult life of the peaks and troughs of trying and then failing and trying and failing, as we all go through as we're growing into ourselves. But it was some really, really lovely things to think about and that I'd really like to think about more.
Yeah.
How about you, Gwen?
Yeah, I feel, as I was saying earlier, I just feel such love and peace after it. And the words were really resonating. So for a lot of it, I had such a massive grin on my face because I was like, yes, and yes, I need this. Yeah. And we all need this. And just thinking of the many times of not trying, actually, of thinking, no, I can't do that. I can't put myself forward for that. And I mustn't, or I'm not right for that, or and always thinking I'm not ready, and it's like, yeah, why not, man? Why not?
Well, thank you so much to both Brad and Tamara for so generously giving us their time and sharing with us their immense amount of knowledge. That just was so fascinating.
And I tell you what, it's going to take me a long time to come down from the excitement of tapping with Brad. Having done so many videos where I look at his face sat at that very same desk and have tapped along with him, to be actually tapping with him, it like almost, inverted commas, live in the flesh, I just had the biggest grin on my face, honestly.
It felt quite weird, didn't it? Suddenly kind of breaking down that fourth wall
Yes!
and stepping into the YouTube video. Oh, my goodness. And hopefully, dear listener, you won't have picked up on this, but we just had proper tech meltdown as well, didn't we? There was a massive storm going on when we were recording. And so the Skype went out of sync and there were delays and, blimey.
Oh,
but
my goodness.
We pulled it together.
We battled through and Brad did very kindly say he enjoyed every minute of it. Hooray!
Yes. Made our days.
But also, Tamara was really, really lovely and we had such an interesting chat with her. And she has created some... Is this a good point to mention this? That Tamara has created some videos specifically for you, the listener of Right Up My Podcast.
Absolutely, which is just brilliant. I thought that her explanation of what tapping actually was and the science behind it was so clear. And for someone like me who was coming at it from zero knowledge, I really wanted to get to grips with those kind of practicalities of it and the real nuts and bolts of it. So that really helped me to better understand how it actually works. So yes, the videos, they will be, where will they be, Gwen? We'll put them...
We'll put them in the show notes.
Put them in show notes. Obviously, where else would we put them?
Yeah.
Could we put them in our YouTube channel? We'll talk about this off air.
We'll put it everywhere. And and a massive thank you to Tamara for taking her time to create those for Right Up My Podcast. That's really lovely of her. Thank you.
So, do you think you're going to? I know you've already used tapping as an emergency band-aid, so to speak. You've used it to help you in particular acute moments, haven't you? But do you think you'll try and do it regularly, try and do it every day?
Do you know what? It is something that I used to do on a daily as a part of my daily practice.
Did you?
Yeah. When, like, a few years ago, I was tapping with Brad pretty much every day. And like he said, what did he say? He used a brilliant analogy, didn't he? Was it about cleaning your teeth or having a shower?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Like, you can never have a shower that's so good that you never have to wash again.
Yeah.
You have to shower every day because you get a build-up of filth every day. And in the same way, tapping every day, you can never have such an effective tapping session that's it. Never need to tap again.
Yeah. And I think, you know, I'm very aware that we are coming up with all these brilliant things that you can do every single day. And I'm very aware already. I'm feeling like I don't want to set myself up for some kind of failure, because I'm not doing well at doing my things every day at all at the moment. Like,
no,
I'm really trying to get back to that kind of just putting that time aside in the morning to really focus on my own personal and self-care, basically.
Yeah.
And like I often mention my journaling and my gratitudes and all of that, which I used to do every single day.
Yeah, you were religious and disciplined about that.
Yeah, really good. And it really, really helped my head. And now that we've as soon as lockdown hit, basically, I stopped. Like, everything went out the window. Or as soon as the first lockdown hit. But yeah, I would like to theoretically use it regularly again, because it brings such calm. But the other thing, like I was saying, like the other day when I'd had a couple of encounters with friends in the morning where they just really pissed me off, and I kind of realised that my natural crutch is to write off the day and go and lie down and watch Netflix, or just think, right, fuck it. I'm just turning off today and I'm going to start again tomorrow. And
checking out.
Yes, and that's what a lot of people do. They go, right, fuck it, I'm opening the wine, or I'm going to, whatever it is, whatever our crutches are. And so instead, I was able to bring myself back by tapping. And I think, and I had such a lovely feeling of calm and love.
Yeah. One thing I found as well, I completely agree with you about the crutches, by the way, because that was the big thing it left me with, not wanting to resort to those familiar things, checking out on the sofa or the wine or the snacks to cope with those moments, and actually that tapping can eliminate that. But one thing that I was quite surprised about is that once after you've done it a couple of times, it's actually really easy to remember the tapping routine through the different points. It's not complicated at all after you've watched a couple of videos. So really, even if you weren't in a position where you could sit down with one of Brad or Tamara's videos and do a guided session, you could talk yourself through those tapping points quite easily and incorporate it into your day wherever you happen to be at the time. Health and safety check, kids, don't do it while driving. But yeah, it's very simple actually, isn't it?
Yes, and you say that about don't do it while driving. I have had it where I'm going in somewhere and I'm in my car and I'm sat there and I'm feeling anxious about the place that I'm about to go in, and I've just sat tapping on my karate chop point. So yes, I think even if you don't do the whole sequence and you just have a couple of minutes, you can just sit and tap.
Yeah.
And bring your breath back down, bring you back into your body, and maybe do some of the mantras as well. Because I think the two together is what really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, that does really help. And that's what I found massively calming when we did the tap along with Brad. The words that he was saying and the repetitive nature of them gets inside your brain.
Yes, and the whole, to love and accept yourself is such a great message. It's what we need.
I know.
Yeah.
Why doesn't it not come more naturally to us?
I know. My friend Dean, who was feeling a bit stressed through work the other day, I sent him that video, Love Magnet. He's not heard... He's obviously not heard the episode yet because it's not been done yet, and he's never heard of EFT, and he sort of said something like, well, that was strange, but... and he said, I didn't know what I was doing, but I feel really good after it.
Yeah.
So... Which is exactly what used to happen to me when I was doing it. I did not know why I was doing it or what it was supposed to be working, but it really worked.
Well, hopefully now we actually do understand a bit more about what it's doing and why we're doing it. Meridian lines.
Exactly. Yeah. And I feel really reassured that it's actually Chinese acupressure points and acupuncture points. It's like, that's legit. I can get behind that.
Yeah.
What I really liked about Brad as well is that he is all about helping us release our gifts, wasn't he? Who was saying we need to open up and step into our shoes, man, and like just don't hold ourselves back with all these self-limiting beliefs or the fear he was saying that holds us back. It's like just share your gifts with the world.
Yes.
And I really loved that. So are you going to keep using it, Kate?
I think I would be lying to myself and to people listening to this if I said I was going to form a really healthy habit of doing it every single day, which I completely appreciate is the holy grail. That's when you're going to get the most benefit from it. But I think I will definitely use it if I feel myself reaching for one of those emotional crutches, whatever that might be, and or if I feel myself in a moment where I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed by a negative emotion. I mean, some people might argue about the use of the word negative emotion, but feel overwhelmed by stress or frustration.
An uncomfortable
or anger.
emotion.
An uncomfortable emotion, that's a better phrase. What about you, Gwen? Will you use it?
Yeah, like I said, and like you, I would definitely use it in moments of emergency. You know, it's going to be impractical for me to say I'll use it every day and an outright lie. But I tell you what, though, the one I will do regularly again is Love Magnet, because I would feel amazing. And if everybody did that, the world would be a better place. Thank you, Brad. Thank you for listening to Write Up My Podcast.
If you want to get in touch with us, you can always email us at writeupmypodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear any ideas of things that you do that make you feel good, any feedback, or just say hi. You can also get in touch with us at the Apple Podcast review section. We would love to hear your thoughts. Thank you, as always, to our fantastically talented team of people who help us put this episode together.
That is Andy Turvey, our brilliant editor, Andrew Grimes on the blinding music, and Kat, our very patient and wonderful content editor. Also, a special shout out to Erica Francis George, who hand cuts all of our episode artwork. You can check out more of her awesome artwork if you go over to her on Instagram at Erica Francis George.
So we'll be back in a couple of weeks with our next episode. And until then, keep trying new things
to make you feel good. Bye-bye.
Tell me, did you like the podcast, Brian?
No!
Oh.
If, unlike Brian, you thought our podcast was really great, then don't hold back. Like, subscribe, and tell your mate. But if, like Brian, you thought our podcast wasn't fun, then just keep quiet. Don't feel the need to tell anyone. We'd love to hear from you if you've got some thoughts to share. Such rich and lovely views that all should be aware of. But I hope you liked our podcast and you thought it was really great. And if you did, like, subscribe, and tell your mate. 'Cause we don't need grumpy pants bringing everybody down. No, we don't need negative Nellies making people frown. No. So I hope you liked our podcast and you thought it was really great. And if you did, like, subscribe, and tell your mate.